Hey everybody, it's Cory from CoryBakerFilmmaker.com, and I just saw Aladdin, written by John August and Guy Ritchie, and directed by Guy Ritchie. So interesting, I caught this flick on the same exact day that I saw Rocket Man. Rachel and I had decided that we wanted to just sort of have like a little date day, and we went to go see Rocket Man, and then later, we got a call from Roberto and Katia, who had been wanting to see Aladdin all weekend, but we just haven't been able to find time. And they decided that they wanted to go that night, so we went to AMC Burbank 16, went back home downtown, and then back to AMC Burbank 16 to see Aladdin. Saw this in one of their regular theaters. I would say that the sort of regular definition theaters at AMC Burbank 16 are not as nice as the higher level ones. And furthermore, know that when you're going to go see a movie like Aladdin, you're going to have a lot of kids and a lot of talking and a lot of noise. And that is going to just impact your viewing experience if you are like me and you like a completely silent movie theater. It's not going to be quite the same. You're going to see phone screens light up. You're going to hear parents yelling at their kids. It's just part of the deal. So Aladdin is a remake of the cartoon from the early 90s. Aladdin is just a thief on the street who runs into Jasmine, who is the princess, but is pretending that she is the handmaiden for the princess. And when Aladdin goes to break into the palace to go see her, he realizes that she's the princess and that he would never be able to be with her. Gets taken up by Jafar, who takes him out to the cave and tells him that he has to get the lamp for Jafar and he'll give him incredible riches in exchange. And he gets trapped inside of the cave and then rubs the lamp himself, and the genie, played by Will Smith, now can give him 3 wishes, for which he uses them to try and get Jasmine to fall in love with him. So I imagine that there's some people who listen to my reviews who would think that I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes or so just savagely ripping Aladdin apart and, saying that this is the end of civilization and blah, blah, blah. But honest to God, it's really not that. It's clearly a construct of trying to make a lot of money and having a huge box office number and then having something to have on Disney Plus. But the audience is kids. Really, it's the same as when I saw this movie when I was a kid. The wheelhouse for this movie is, children up till, probably 16 or 17. I imagine at that point more of the kids are going to be like, oh, I want to see a stupid kids movie. That's sort of where I imagine it breaks. There's a lot of nostalgia people who are going to see this movie. I mean, that's part of the reason why I wanted to see it. Rachel is a humongous Disney fan, so she is going to see it because she wants to see the new version of Aladdin. And I mean, it's not a betrayal of what we all loved when we were young. It's a new version for a new audience given new technology. And I mean, I would be inclined to say we don't need to replace this. We don't need a new version of this. But honestly, I can't imagine that if I had a 6 or 7 year old kid here and I wanted to entertain them with a movie, that they would be as interested in the animated version of Aladdin from 92 or whatever it was, because it's just not, it doesn't hold the same as a kid's attention is, designed to be held in this generation. So I get why they want to make a new version. I get why they want to make money. They're a business and they want to have huge box office numbers and global releases. And at the end of the day, they have a lot of things that they need to pay for, Disney Plus and the theme parks and all these things. So it's it's not going to be rated well. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that this is a wonderful movie or that Roma should be, worried that its place in the leaderboard isn't no, it's not it's a perfectly fine movie for the audience in which it's designed. And just like I wouldn't imagine that everyone would have the same sort of enjoyment watching the NBA Finals. People who like basketball will like the NBA Finals. People who don't like basketball probably don't care. And, if you're a 50-year-old living in Manhattan and all you do is take in, Fellini films, then no, you're not going to like this. If you're a 5-year-old who lives in Topeka and, you go to the movie theaters for an escape, you're going to love the shit out of this movie. I don't know what, it's just what it is. I will say that the sort of hate that goes on in the internet these days, like when we first all collectively saw Will Smith in Blue as the genie, there was sort of this reaction of like, get that awful thing out of my face. And, very much like Twitter and the Instagram and internet is known to do, is just sort of create these hate cycles of like, this isn't the thing that I know and shit like that. But I mean, Will Smith is great. Like, he's good in this movie. He's entertaining. He's fun. And he's the type of entertaining that kids of this generation are going to see and be like, oh, yeah, that's wonderful. Robin Williams, just, if he was alive, would not work in this movie. Like, he just couldn't be the live-action genie. Like, you just sort of have to be accepting of the fact that there's going to be new versions of these things. Like, there's new Batmans all the time. Like, we get upset when somebody new is announced, and then we see the movie, and then we calm the hell down. Like, Will Smith is not the problem with this movie. You can make the argument that some of the CG that's going on in this movie makes it a little, like, weird and unusual to see at times. Like, there's definitely a line that we're getting very close to as far as, like, how live action the monkeys and tigers are in this movie, where you know that it's not real because it's so authentic looking. Like that sort of ideal is on full display in this movie. Let's go through the cast, I guess. This is the easiest way to like sort of like figure out like where I think we should be sitting with this thing. Will Smith does a great job. He's not Robin Williams. He was never trying to be Robin Williams. He's just doing something completely different. That's great. Mena Massoud is Aladdin, Egyptian, out of Canada. He does a great job in this. He's sort of got like a Milo and Heroes kind of vibe with just like the hair like sort of like casually draping down his face. But he's good. He's a good singer, good dance man. Definitely, you could see a theater background in him. He's sort of doesn't have a whole lot of movie credits. I think it was like 22 acting credits that I saw in there. And it seems like there is room for him to grow as far as more of like an on-screen presence. He has a great magnetism about him, but there seems to be just like a little disconnect between the performances that he gives and the way that they're like your acceptance of them, I guess, is like, it's weird. Like he's talented, he's got great magnetism, he's got a great screen presence. There's just a little bit of a disconnect that I think reps and time will just tremendously help. Naomi Scott is wonderful in this movie. She sings wonderfully. She is beautiful. She is everything that I imagined that they wanted from Jasmine. She does a wonderful job. She really nails it. Nasim Pedrad, who plays Dahlia, the handmaiden, is very good in this too. Her and Will Smith have a lot of like interactions that are great. The only one that really kind of like just like didn't seem to really hit with me is Marwan Kenzari, who plays Jafar. He's playing it very restrained. Like it doesn't it's not the over the top evil figure that you're used to from like especially the cartoon version of this flick. Like the cartoon Jafar was straight evil, and you could just see it in his face, and the beard and the everything just made him look, like you knew who the bad guy was immediately by seeing him. And it, like the Jafar in the movie version obviously has a lot of things, like the black and stuff like that sort of paint him as like an evil figure. He plays it way closer to the chest, and like it just doesn't we know I feel like we know Jafar is evil a lot more because we know who Jafar is from the cartoon than we do from the performance in this movie. Like it just doesn't have the same sort of energy and resonance. He does a good job. He just doesn't land on the evilness as well as you would hope. But yeah, I mean, like, other than that, like, you know, there's the Prince Anders by Billy Magnussen, who was funny. And the Sultan was good, but I mean, nobody else really has like a humongous role in this. That's the principal cast right there. So if we're gonna look at this movie sort of as like an actual piece of like art that we're going to compare to, you know, more serious things, like there's problems. So, you know, they create Agrabah, and it's like this living, breathing place. But the problem is that it also looks like, you know, they're going to be doing a live Aladdin on NBC, and it's going to be like, you know, everyone's singing live on and like they've created these sets. Like it doesn't feel like a real place as much as it looks like a set on a backlot somewhere. You know, lots of green screen stuff, but it's not anything that like, you know, it's not Superman back in the 70s or it, you know, they do a great job with it. The CG, you know, Disney has some of the best CG people at their disposal, and the good stuff looks incredible. The bad stuff looks a little lazy. It's not noticeable or, you know, anyone's fault or anything like that. I just imagine that they had fucking 700 people working in the CG department for this film, and, you know, they're all going on no sleep and trying to get parrots to fly, and it can be tough. I love John August. I'm a huge Script Notes guy. I've been listening since the very beginning on Script Notes, and I like where John August comes from and the stuff that he does. It's just that this movie just sort of has these moments, like the thing is that it needs to be very easily digestible, and the good stuff is really good. So all the stuff with the genie, wonderful. All the stuff that is sort of doing the Aladdin and Jasmine dynamic and the Dahlia and Genie dynamic is amazing. But then there's like little things like, you know, when Aladdin wishes to become a prince so that he can, you know, eventually marry Jasmine, he comes in, he says, I have gifts, I have jams, all kinds of jams, date jams, listing, like, it goes on for 30 seconds, you know, and the genie's like, maybe it's not so much about the jams. And then there's a callback on the, like, oh, did I talk to you about my jams? And I'm just like, this joke wasn't really, like, funny to begin with, but, like, the constant callback to it just, it misses. But again, this is not, like, you know, John August, if you said, hey, write something that can change the world, then he could. You know, this is a kids movie, and Guy Ritchie is a good director who's capable of a lot of things, but this is a kids movie, and he can't, you know, at no point can Aladdin pull somebody into an alley and shiv him or something like that. Like, there's levels to what we're allowed to work with here. And I just think that, you know, there's a lot of unnecessary hate going on for something that is not meant to be for everyone. That's sort of got to be my touchstone for this. Like, it's not trying to be for everyone. It's trying to be a kids movie, and it's trying to be a nostalgia trip, and it's trying to be something for Disney heads, and that's literally that. All right, because I can hear some of you, like, going on that you want me to talk about, like, you know, the corporatism and shit like that about this. Fine. I'll go just a couple seconds here and just say that, yes, there is a way to look at this movie like the Budweiser Pepsi presented by Microsoft Super Bowl show. Like, it just, there's a gloss and an austere over it that just makes it feel very like, you know, this is the product that Disney has decided to put out there, and we're going to make a lot of money off this product, and instead of using this money on, like, you know, independent films, we're just going to make, instead of making 100 independent films, we're going to make one Aladdin, ha ha ha. But, like, Disney's not, that's not their MO, that's just not what they're doing. Like, you can't expect them to create a brand sort of largely based off of like being able to have programming for children and expect it to be, what film loving culture is going to want. And yes, it feels unnecessarily clean, and Agrabah looks like a set on an NBC show, but it's not like it's I don't know, like I don't know what to say. It there's like a thin line right now where I see where this could get fucking lazy real quick. And I imagine that there's a Disney Plus thing where it gets real lazy. Like, you're going to notice a different, if they make, Aristocrat, or like something lesser than, and try and do a live action version that's a Disney Plus streaming exclusive, I imagine you're going to see that line real clear between what is a major release and what is a Disney Plus thing. And there's elements of this that feel very much like they're getting ready for when they're going to have to make live action versions of things that they're going to put out for streaming. But this doesn't cross that line yet. It's still on the, this is a feature film presentation version of it. And, I guess Disney, just be aware. Like, I mean, that's the problem. Like, what am I telling them? Like, be aware that your movies might get a little bit lazy if you don't commit some effort into trying to make them better. Like, that's every film, so sorry. A whole new leaderboard. So second time I saw a movie at AMC Burbank 16 in one day, so that if we keep doing that, then we're going to have a video here in no time at all. Moving on to the movie leaderboard. So I asked Rachel, Rachel isn't like super tied in with the reviews. She doesn't like follow it every single day because she sees most of these movies with me and she hears me complain on the way home, so she doesn't need to like watch the video as well. But I asked her, if you had to give it a review, if you had to give it a rating, what would you have? And I said that I do the 1 to 10 scale. It's basically a 100 because I do decimal points. What would be your rating for this? Because you're kind of in the wheelhouse. You're a Disney fanboy. You're right there. And she said, it was really good. I really liked it. I would give it like an 82, so an 8.2. I would not agree with that in terms of like how it rates as a movie, but if you want to think about it in that sort of spectrum, I imagine if I asked like a 8-year-old kid, like, what'd you think of this movie? They'd probably be like, oh, it was a 9, and like, that's sort of there's a sliding, that it's kind of like the Fast and the Furious thing that I do. If it's Fast and the Furious leaderboard, you have to realize that the movie's not necessarily good from the get-go. It's something different, and it might just be a fun action movie or a stupid comedy, but it's not going to be the same as The Godfather, and you have to you have to give it a sliding scale in that regard. So if the audience for this movie is a kid, or somebody who's crazy about Disney, if you have a girlfriend who's like, I want to go to Disney all the time, then this is definitely a movie that you probably want to see with that girlfriend. If you have a 7-year-old kid who, loves Disney as well, then yeah, take them to this movie. If it's the Flaney fan in Manhattan, no, there's no point. Don't worry about it. But for the sake of argument here, I will give it a rating, and I will give it a 5.4. Like, yeah, sure, it's a movie. It's fun. It's, a little bit longer than I think it needed to be. It could have probably been a little bit shorter, but that's fine. And the people who, the kids' version of this scale would probably be this movie is an 8.5, or, Disney fan, like 8 something. So factor that in, that I'm giving you a review to base it off of the other movies that I've rated, but it's not really the same sort of thing. Anyway, that's it for me. If you want more, you can go to my website, CoryBakerFilmmaker.com, my Facebook page at facebook.com/CoryBakerFilm, at LegendCB5 on Twitter and Instagram. If you like this review, then please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel if you want to keep following it. Subscribe to the podcast if you want to get these reviews on the go. Cory Baker Filmmaker Movie Review Podcast, available on all the major platforms. Go to anchor.fm/CoryBakerFilm if you want to find your particular platform there. Yeah, that's about all I got. Now, if you don't mind, I have to take a magic carpet ride to get some lunch because it is coming up on 2 and I am hungry.